Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus Ancient Gladiator. Little one-off episode today. Pillar loves PlayStation games. So way back when I had my, I want to say early 2000s, was a PS1. Eventually got a PS2, and for brief periods of time I've had a PSP. So those have been like my big console and handheld experiences for most of my time. So let me go to those today. I'll just kind of write things down as I go on what I like. Um, yeah, one of the things I liked about getting the PS2 was the backwards compatibility with PS1 stuff, so that was nice. When I heard the PS3 was not going to be, excuse me, that's what was where I realized, you know what, I'll stick with my PS2. I don't need to worry, better visuals and all that crap. I'm happy with the games that I enjoy for fun. But I guess what got me to eventually pick up a PS1 was messing around with the PC port of Final Fantasy VII, and I enjoyed the PC port of Final Fantasy VII, except for all the times it crashed and all the other issues. So I enjoyed the PS1 experience a little bit more. It's just a solid game. Although the materia system, it's interesting customizability, but then it feels like there's not much difference between the characters aside from some stats and maybe their limit breaks and all that. I also got FF9, Final Fantasy 9. That game, I love the living crap out of that game. Granted, a lot of power of friendship stuff, and it's like, friendship, how does that work? You know, but I enjoyed it mostly. Um, a few moments could have been, done without, but overall, it was a fun experience. Just exploring this world, and I wish they hadn't locked down certain things for Disc 4. It's like, really? Uh, but I see, space gets limited and all that. To do what they have to. I tried playing Final Fantasy VIII briefly. Just couldn't wrap my head around the junction system. I should have given it more of a chance, but I just wasn't feeling it at the time. Final Fantasy Tactics, however, was like a lot of fun. I remember my brief time in university. Someone got me into an online game called Tactics Arena Online, which reminded me of Final Fantasy Tactics, and I don't know if that game's still around, but yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics was pretty cool. I don't know, even when it goes from political, religious intrigue, craziness to magic stones and monsters, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I was, I kind of I was giving a damn about the story up until Quecklin and and that fight. I was like, oh shit, we're going down this road of magic stones and everything, but it's still good. Um, Armored Core, yay! Giant robot combat, not turn based, but actually having to um, be active and reactive, and sure you could pause just to catch your breath for a minute, but man, you gotta be on the ball for that game. There's so much customization too. I never really liked the missile weapons because it would cost me money at the end. It's like I want to take as many lasers as I could, and things that didn't require ammunition, like the laser blade. It's just a cool idea. But that game had like one of the more brutal final missions I've ever seen. But yeah, Armored Core is fun. Which is why I got Armored Core Nexus for the PS2. I'm jumping ahead to the PS2 stuff, but I'm going to go back to PS1 here in a minute. Armored Core Nexus was the other Armored Core game I played and completed. I don't think I got 100% on that one, but that where they actually make use of the analog sticks a little bit better, and that game I'd love to go back to at some point. I want to go back to the Armored Core stuff someday, and I wish there was like one for like PC, like a PC port, and because I just play the living crap out of that all the time, man. I'd shoot. Yeah. But speaking of giant fighting robots, another PS1 game I got into was Xenogears, although I think that was after I got into Xenosaga. I went back and played Xenogears just to have a better understanding of what's getting referenced in Xenosaga. That was pretty cool, aside from, platforming sections with giant robots and everything else. And a second disc that wasn't as much as it could have been. But, okay, so I like to consider myself spiritually independent, but I really like mythologies and other weird spiritual things like Gnosticism and other stuff. Just because it's fun to explore, There's not a lot of even if I can't like bring myself to dedicate myself to a religion or anything, I still like to explore this stuff because I think it's interesting to think about. Even if some of it's like crazy mystical, what the hell's going on here kind of shit, it's still fun to me. I don't have anything else for the PS1. Should it? Should I bring up Battle Hunters? A random ass board game combat system. Battle Hunters was not a great game, but it was amusing for a little while. So let's jump ahead to PS2. I think my early experiences with PS2 was getting into the dot hack games, the first run games. Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine. Good luck finding a copy of Quarantine. It's like up there with Rule of Rose and Silent Hill 2 and games like those. For price and all that. And I never really. It took me a long time to get into the whole MMO scene, but I like the idea of dot hack being a sort of lightweight approach to it. I never got into making parties with other people in the MMOs I played. I was always a solo kind of guy, but that was fun. I think I remember. I've talked about this before. I got into dot hack because of the card game, Dot Hack Enemy. That game got me into both the PS2 first run games and dot hack Sign. I haven't gotten into anything else dot hack aside from those. Aside from the soundtracks. Soundtracks are beautiful for the anime. The game is pretty cool too. So you know how Skaith's staff is censored out for the U.S. stuff. There are two places where his staff is not censored out. It's the cross that's supposed to be. Dot hack enemy. Surprisingly enough. and the soundtrack. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, dot hack, fun times, lots and lots and lots of hours spent, and I think I beat the fourth game, got to the post game content, proceeded to hit the brick wall of infection overload, and realized, okay, you know what, I don't need to do this post game shit. I'm done. um, oh yeah, going back to Xeno stuff, Xeno Saga, which I've covered in another video, 1, 2, and 3. Solid games, aside from the first games, um, did we really need all those upscale shots of Momo? Really? We don't know. No, just no. And then two, um, screwed up the art style and screwed up the English voice casting. Um, but then the third game came around. They brought back some of the previous voices, and if you can only play one Xenos game, just play the third one. The first one also had the flashing warning stuff too. It was like, yeah, I'm glad we're in an age where we're a little more mindful of the epilepsy and all that. Uh, Instead of there's too much flashing stuff. It's even without it, it still kind of messes with me a little bit. But anyway, more PS2. Oni was a crazy fun game of, yes, you had guns available, but you really wanted to go punching and kicking more often than not, because that was the game system right there. That was one from Bungie as well, which is kind of interesting. Bungie, distributed by Rockstar. If I can find the PC version at some point, I'd love to play that again and get the anniversary mod. That'll correct stuff. But yeah, that was. I think, why did I get that one? I think I looked at it and I saw, and I immediately had this, flashback to watching Ghost in the Shell. It's like, oh hey, it's like Ghost in the Shell, probably. I'll play it. Yeah, it's a fun game, but man, it got hard towards the end. I think at one point I had to resort to Chico's to freaking get to the end of it. That stupid laser hallway with a mercury bows. Like, yeah, I could not get past that without a sliver of health left. And you just can't go any further at that point. What else? Speaking of whatever guns, hey, punch people instead. Devil May Cry with its swords and fists and guns and monsters and shit. Let's go back to PS1 stuff for a minute. I have tried out Resident Evil. I have tried out Silent Hill. But I don't really do too well with that stuff. I like the whole Devil May Cry character action style fun. A character with attitude and moves. And it's like, hell yeah. Though one of the things I did not like about Devil May Cry was when you go underwater, you are in first person view, which scares the crap out of me. Holy shit! One of the secret missions was like you're stuck in this underwater cell, trying to shoot off the shoot at these guys that are coming for you. But at least Dante can somehow breathe while underwater. Yeah, better. I'm gonna jump back to PS1 stuff for a minute. I have played through Metal Gear Solid, and that was a great experience. You know, it's really challenging and all that. Also played Siphon Filter 2. Um, that game was a little bit harder, and I wound up having to cheat to the end. But that one's that was an interesting one as well. Um, Metal Gear versus Siphon Filter. Uh, I don't know, it's kind of hard to pick one. Yes, Metal Gear Solid by a little bit. Okay, so back to PS2 stuff. Shinobi is another stylish action game that was stupid ass hard. That freaking wall spider boss was a nightmare. And what really sucks about that game is if you screw up on the way to the boss, you are starting all the way over. And there's some stuff that you need to be able to dash over pits and all that, and falling into a pit was instant death. You had to start over again. That game was stupid ass hard. So I had both Shinobi and Gungrave, and I remember if you opened up the boxes for the games and you took the manuals and you flipped the manuals over to the opposite side, there's the advertisements for the other games. Gungrave was just kind of cathartic. Go crazy, shoot like you want at enemies and keep up the rhythm of eliminating foes and all that. Fun times, but I think some of the bosses were kind of bosses were either really awesome or just kind of a pain. And there's that level at the end. It's just what the hell? Yeah. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy, of course. Final Fantasy X, which was okay. Not a game I'm in a hurry to come back to, but I don't need it. I do wish people would quit bringing up that whole Titus laugh of being bad voice acting. That was intentional. It was meant to sound unsettling and weird. Yeah, it's actually it makes sense to be like that. But the 10 was okay. Final Fantasy 12 took me a while to actually um, to come around and appreciate, but that's the one I really like. Even with the licensed sports system being what it is, I really like the story and setting in there, and the whole wide open world. And there were some brutal fights in that game, especially against like some of the higher level stuff. I think I unlocked the Hellworm fight, and I think an hour into it, I'm just like, there's no fucking way I can beat this guy. I just can't. So yeah, there's a lot of content I missed out on for that game, but otherwise, I, I might consider going back to it, but after 150 hours. Granted, I've put more than 400 into Quake Live, so there's that. But 150 hours is nothing anymore. What else? Monokamiya. That's right. So I have never played any of the other Atelier games. Atelier. But Monokamiya is pretty cool. I got a certain distance into the game and realized, oh crap, I haven't been adding the things I need to add to the synthesized items that I need to add. And it's like, okay, I'm going to start over after about like 10 hours into the game. It's like, oh shit. And, yeah. Voice, I enjoyed the English dub voice acting on that one. And it was a decent game. Yeah. It's the whole system there and mixing things together and having your friends help you out is pretty cool. Um, Speaking of English dubs that I like, Odin Sphere, I love the living crap out of that game. Even though the sound that's made when you die, that clunk sound, just set me off. Just sort of fucking bullshit, you know that. Even with that frustration, I still I still like it. I'd still like to go back to it. Although having to get all the crappy endings in order to get the 100% ending during Armageddon, that was kind of a mean thing to do because it felt like a total dick having Mercedes fighting what was it called? Anyway, having Mercedes fighting Ingwe's Darko form, or having Gwendolyn fighting Onyx. Yeah. Yeah, Otis her. I like the little alchemy system for Odin's here. I was like, okay, how do I most effectively create a 98 potion? Yeah, it'll like mix stuff together. It'll make like higher levels of stuff to get more phozones. Oh yeah, there's the so fun fact: if you ever screw up and make a 99, because if you try to add one to the 99, eventually it overflows and becomes a 0. So if you screw up and make a 99, what you do is you make a 2, and then you combine them together, which makes it a 98. Because it would be 198, but it drops to 1. So, in case you screw up playing that game. Yeah. Oh, man. What else? There's gotta be... Oh, Half-Life. Yeah. Half-Life for the PS2. It was my first experience with playing Half-Life. And that game got stuck when I got into the trash compactor. And I was like, okay, I got captured. I'm throwing a save here. Okay. And I was trying to get out. Why am I stuck? Oh shit, I'm stuck. And I saved over the only save I have. Oops. There's also some cheat codes for that game, which made it kind of interesting. Like being an alien, which I thought was pretty cool. It's gonna be something. What else? Unreal Tournament for the PS2, because I had the Game of the Year edition for the PC, and I thought, oh hey, there's the PS2 version. Let's try that out. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. Got to play. There's like one level that was in that one that I don't think I ever saw for the PC version, but it would have been fun to see that one in that. It was like one of the boss levels. But yeah, Unreal Tournament's a solid game. As much as I love Quake Live, Quake 3, and all that, Unreal Tournament's pretty good. I haven't played anything after that though, for the Unreal side of things. I haven't played the base Unreal game either. It's like it's funny, for one Christmas I got like the expansion pack for Unreal. It's like, okay, but I don't have the base game. Why did I get this? God of War. Oh shit, God of War. That game was just fun to go swinging blades around and all that. Although it had some tough moments. I want to say that one place with all the freaking deadly traps of bullshit and all that. Having to realize, oh hey, I need to actually dash underwater if I'm going to survive. That game. and then you get the treasure at the end of that dungeon, and then Ares kills you, and you have to climb your way out of hell. It's like, this game. So yeah, I love the living crap out of my PS2, and I kind of miss having it. Almost, I am massively tempted to try and get another one at some point, but nah, I don't have a lot of time to really mess with it. Uh, the Sega Genesis collection and the Sonic collection um, were just nice to have those games, like the Sonic games and Echo, and I think the Cap Attack as well, and Columns. Love the living crap out of Columns. Damn it. Yeah. And I think there's also the Activision collection as well, which was okay. So for a brief period of time, I got to have my grandmother's Atari 2600, and that game, that it's interesting to see where all these old games and all that. There's a friend I briefly had in Washington State who also had an Atari 2600, and let me try out some of their games as well. And that was an interesting time. Yeah. My favorite game from that era is like Mega Mania, a little vertical shooter. You have this energy bar that depletes over time, and you have to eliminate this wave of enemies. It's like 8 different kinds. There'd be color swapped after that, and they'd have different patterns of movement. And they're just trying to go the distance, you know. That was my kind of game. And then I had Killer 7. That game is freaking dark. It scared the living crap out of me at times. But I think I did my best to push through it. I got to like the second part of Blackburn, and I think that's where I gave the hell up. It was like, okay, I've been through enough BS. This game has terrorized me and frustrated me enough. I'm done. I enjoyed the English dub for that one. Um, that was a lot of fun, but man, dark as hell. Just scary as well. On the PS2. Do I want to get it back at some point? Trying to remember. See, I owned Nightshade and God of War 2, but I never got around to playing them, which is unfortunate. Oh no. I want to say there's been other games I've had. Onimusha. It's got the fixed camera angles like Resident Evil and all that. But hey, you have a sword. I think I got to the end of like the first boss fight. It's like, okay, this is interesting, but I'm just gonna call it here. um, but I don't know if I want to return to that at some point. So I think I've tried out some of the other Armored Core games that were on the PS2. Going back a bit, but I think Nexus was the one that resonated with me the best in terms of opening experience. Front Mission 4, which I think someone like lent me or sold to me or whatever, was what got me curious about the Front Mission series, but that's the only one I've been able to play, and I got to a point where I cannot freaking beat these guys no matter what I'm trying to do. And I was always obsessed with making sure that all my guys had all my characters had the extension for healing themselves or others. Because that's something I wanted to be covered on for that base, you know, because this is a tactical game. I want to make sure that if things get tough, I can heal and stay ahead of the curve where I can. But yeah, it's a series I might want to check out again at some point. R-Type Final, because I played, desperate versions of R-Type games on PC, and enjoyed the series that way. Final was that was an interesting game, having all these ships and all these customization options. But man, that game is tough. I think legitimately the furthest I got was to that capsule boss, and I could go no further. Thank goodness for cheat codes to get past that. But I don't know. That's a series I want to come back to at some point. When I got my PSP, I got into R-Type Command or Tactics, whatever it goes by. And that was an interesting idea. I didn't get very far into it, but I thought it was pretty cool. Oh yeah, back to PS2. Phantasy Star Universe. Aside from the weird little episodic thing, this is just a fun action game of building up your characters and all that good and stuff. I was happy to find a Phantasy Star Portable and enjoy that on the go. It's a different kind of experience because it's with the PSP instead of with the controller. But it's an okay game. It's all right. What else? I had it on. It's right. Persona 3. FPS edition. Fest. I think I got it. What was it that got me to check that one out? I forget, but it was. I think I played to like the lovers battle, and I don't think I got much further after that. It was interesting having this limited amount of time and needing to make all this social stuff happen. Go to school, build friendships, and then go fight demons. Fun times. Other stuff I've tried out has been Nocturne. I deliberately played that game on hard first time, and I think I got out into the open world and just got kind of lost and just searching for stuff. But I probably wouldn't have given those games a chance if it wasn't for trying Digital Devil Saga, which has this awesome soundtrack. And that's a game I want to go back to and properly finish. I got to the freaking two birds fight at the top of that tower and could not get any further, and I'm still pissed off that I gave up on the fucking game. It was. I like the visual style, and I like the whole magical, technological craziness. That game was what inspired Hazard for me. Because that game was born of the idea, what if Digital Devil Saga had a board game adaptation? And that's something I still want to properly figure out. Hazard's okay, but I want to do a proper thing for that. Eternal Poison was another game with an awesome soundtrack. It's always nice when games come with whole soundtrack discs and stuff, other extra stuff. It has some weird tactics to it. Um, and the voice acting was nice, but that game got hard quickly. And I think it was just one fight I could not get past at all. And there's nothing I knew about to cheat past. So it's like, okay, we're done here. Um, I bought the special edition of Sakura Arms 5, So Long to Live. And I thought, like, okay, I'm playing through it once, and my first shot playing through is like, okay, I have to talk to people a certain way. Interesting. And then I was looking online for tips on how to do that first part better. It's like, oh, for like these two, you actually you don't say anything. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, for once, I actually have to be quiet. Man, it's such a dick move to pull in people. And then I got to like the second chapter, and that's where like all my interest went out the window. I was just struggling to deal with the dialogue shit, and it's like, okay, screw this game. I like the English voice dub, but I don't know if I want to go back to it at any point. I have to find a copy. It's probably a pain in the ass to find a copy these days. Speaking of tactical stuff, I think I tried Lapis Cell Tactics, and I think reading about that one, or finding out that so much got censored. It's like, what the hell? You don't claim to be the next Atlas and then proceed to wuss out on trying to be the next Atlas. You don't do that shit. That's how you fail. It's just Unlimited Saga, which so my previous experience with Saga was the Saga Frontier on PS1, which I found. Oh, excuse me. Well, I had my PS2 and played a little bit of that, and that was alright. I never completed any of the chapters, but it's an interesting idea. Unlimited Saga it felt like this is a game. If it had come out on the previous console, I could understand, but there's a serious lack of quality here, and it's unfortunate. You know, something's wrong when you go to get a game and it's hard. It's currently in the bargain bin for stupid ass cheap. Yeah. Shadow of the Colossus. Yay. Shadow of the Colossus, and by extension, Eco. Eco was an interesting idea. I didn't get through it, but it was interesting to have this kind of cinematic platforming, puzzle solving, escort mission that I wish I'd gotten through it. Wish I'd been more patient with that one and actually gotten through it. The Another reminder of why cover art is important and not screwing it over matters. Same, for that one and Monica Mia. It's like, don't be done with cover art. Actually make it nice, instead of trying to be all hyper aggressive and shit. And Shadow of the Colossus, which I get a chance to because of Eco. That was fun. I know the game wants me to feel bad for fighting giant monsters, and I've said this before, but the game is a puzzle, and puzzles were meant to be solved. Don't bring up Hellraiser, but yeah, puzzles were meant to be solved to me. I don't like games that want to make me feel bad about playing them. What kind of idiots make a game just to make people feel bad about playing games? It's dumb. That's how you make the whole medium look stupid and patronizing, is when you do that shit. by all means, write a book, write an essay about it. Don't make a game about it. About trying to make people feel bad about playing games. It's just fucked up. You know? Manhunt was like very. I briefly owned because that was a game that kind of unsettled me a bit. It's like, okay, I played through the first chapter. I watched my ex brother-in-law play it on PC. And that's what got me curious. But actually playing it myself, it just didn't feel right. It's one thing to go against demons and robots and shit, but this I don't really feel good about it. I never really got into the Grand Theft Auto series either. I think I played the PS1 GTA briefly, but it's like I'm not entirely sure what to do here. I think I managed to steal a police car in that one. It's like I'm out on foot, trying to escape police. There's a fence between us. I go back around, get a car, and drive off with it. No. Still manages to be popular though, so they're doing something good with the story and characters apparently. What else was there for PS2? I've bought and sold so many games for that console. I'm sure I'm missing a few somewhere. But I think that's probably. Oh, that's right. Speaking of Odin Sphere, Grim Grimoire, because I probably wouldn't have gone into that game if it weren't for Odin Sphere. Um, Interesting strategic, tactical side view kind of game. It's like, and that's a game where with the missions you want to do it faster and with fewer resources as possible to get bonus stuff. There's something I'd like to see as a tabletop game as well. To figure out how to do that system. I think they're doing a remake, which will be interesting. Okami. How could I forget about Okami? That was just such a nice, beautiful game of exploration and adventure, and you know, I think that's probably something that got me a little bit more curious about the idea of Shinto as well. That's a game I would love to go back to one of these days. But yeah. Speaking of being God, going to the PSP side of things, it's Patapone. That game is so much fun. Getting into the rhythm and just bam, 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 bam. Just getting the rhythm down and fighting was just so cool. There were some moments that were hard as hell. Having to get to fever and then set off the rain or the wind or something to get to a difficult part. That was tough, but it was worth it. Also for PSP, I had Luminous. Luminous is just fun. Fun little puzzle game. Not quite Tetris, but hey, it's so fun in its own way. The music was so cool. And the visuals were just awesome. What else? Infected for the PSP. That was a fun time. I don't know if it would fly these days with some consumer. But the little bits in between missions of your superiors and your science advisor and all that. That was just hilarious. I got through that game legitimately. I even did a final mission with a gold medal, and it was also cool to like unlock like members of Slipknot and be able to just go kick zombie ass as a member of Slipknot. And it's also where I first heard "Pull Harder and the Strange to Your Martyr" by Trivium, and that stayed in the back of my mind when I eventually heard In Waves and got into them then. Yeah. What else? Half Minute Hero. Half Minute Hero is just an awesome, awesome game. It's just simple sprite art and this idea of, for each of these gameplay modes, there's ways to extend the time or speed the time up because you want to get through it faster. And there's also ways to end certain missions to get certain titles, which is fun. I never got through Hero 3 though. And I think that was also the game that led me to assume another game was associated with it and pick it up just to try it out. Gkanya, something like that. I was like, okay, this is an entirely different game, never mind. But it was still fun for what it was. Did I have anything else for PSP? Stars, Dissidia, Final Fantasy, which I think buying my own PSP for the first time. So the first time I got a PSP, I got it used, and then they wanted it back. It's like, oh shit. So the second time I got my PSP, I got it as a bundle with the City of Final Fantasy, and that's a nice game. It was actually pretty cool, I think. It's a solid action game. I didn't complete it, but I got through it. I think I got through some of the characters at least. But it kind of feels weird playing the game, not knowing some of the other series entries, characters. Voices were okay. And there's like some just like, huh? The hell? It's a weird choice. But yeah, I think that covers like, I want to say 95% or so of what I've had for PlayStation stuff. Those early days were pretty cool. There's a lot of fun times and fun memories. If I wasn't messing around on my computer, then I was having a freaking blast with playing all these games. I also like having the PS2 for being a DVD player. Although one time I was like, why is this locked out? How do I reset this? And it took me forever to realize, oh, hey, I can reset it this way. And it's weird seeing like movies on PSP, but I think I had the Aeon Flux collection on that first. It was interesting. That and being able to browse the internet while having a PSP was kind of weird, but it was cool. Yeah, so many hours spent on PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable games. You know what? No regrets. No regrets for any of the time spent on them. Even when the games were all that hot at times. I still have a lot of fond memories. And that's part of what expanded my imagination to today. So There's been a lot of rambling, but I want to thank you all for listening. This has been Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator. See you next time.